Hello, Gunjan. Welcome to another session with us. You have been talking to Cheenta students and working with us for some time. So, thank you for your time, firstly. And congratulations for joining. I think you're joining this year, Rich, right? Is that correct? Yeah. So, with a full scholarship, which is fantastic. Is this Trinity College in Cambridge?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Gunjan can actually tell you about more about Trinity College. It's one of the oldest, right? Uh, Gunjan, tell us a little bit more about Trinity College. What do you know about it? It has a rich history, I think. Yeah.
Of course, the alumni list is like incredible. You
Uh-huh.
might see these names in your textbooks when you're in ninth grade, 10th grade, and
Right,
like
right,
the Perth Thompson, Ramanujan. It's amazing, and it's one of the oldest one. It's one of the most prestigious ones. I like to think that that's just my opinion,
this is
and
one of the it's really literally the best one, I think, in Cambridge University system. Yeah.
hopefully,
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
and
and yeah, go ahead, please continue.
it's very reputed for its Olympiad community because a lot of Olympiad medalists and students just go there, study math, and it's very reputed for that. And
Right.
I hope I can live up to that reputation.
Yeah.
And one thing I really like about that is there's an apple tree near Trinity, which is like the Newton's apple tree, and
Newton's apple tree. Yeah.
it's said to be the apple tree that Newton was sitting under, but
Right, right.
I don't think I'm not sure if that's true, but I hope it is.
Yeah, I mean it's really fantastic. I mean all the names, big names that we read in our textbooks, most of the theorems I would say, uh, they belong to Trinity and Cambridge and so on. So again, congratulations. This is a big honor as well. And I think you are going with the full scholarship. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay. So, I mean, I'm sure the students here would be very interested to know your application process and so on. This is also very important, apart from your journey in learning and your passion for mathematics, we'll definitely talk about. But one thing that we will also highlight is the application process. How did you actually manage to apply for the scholarship, if you had to apply, or was it automatic? All those kind of details we would like to know a little bit more. And but let's first start a bit about yourself. Like, can you tell me where you were born and what kind of mathematics you have been doing since childhood, what other things you do?
I am 17 years old right now. I was born in Delhi and I basically grew up here. I started with Chinta. I think I was in fifth grade and I joined a batch here. And
Yeah.
I remember attending your classes and a bunch of instructors. It was like basically how I started my journey. And in seventh grade, I wrote my first Olympiad. It's now called IOQM, but earlier it was called PRMO. I managed to qualify that year and I failed RMO basically. And next year I came back, I qualified INMO, which is the third stage. And I was unfortunately not able to go to the camp because those were the years for pandemic. But I've been qualifying INMO for the next 4 years, which is basically 5 times. And I participated in the European Girls Math Olympiad 4 times. I won one bronze and two silver medals. That is basically a compilation of my achievements in the Olympiad journey. But I think the bigger achievements that I would like to highlight were basically realizing that mathematics is something I wish to do further. It's just not a high school thing for me. It's just not a hobby for me. I want to make a career out of it. It's something I love. And I think just that realization means a lot more to me than any medal or any achievement because that's basically shaping who I am. And I don't think any achievement could ever replace that. And
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of students or like people who are just starting out just ask me that, okay, I'm in 11th grade now. Should I even try for math Olympiads or math in general? And I would say it's definitely still worth a shot, even if you don't go somewhere or you're not able to achieve the goals you set for yourself. It's still a great journey to be part of. You're going to learn so much about yourself, so much about math, so much about how basically everything works. Like, I figured that math is a lot more involved in my life than I thought it was as a child, and that's something very cool.
Wow,
And
that's really awesome. Yeah, please continue.
I decided that Cambridge was one of the universities I was applying to very early on. I think 11th grade, I was like, I'm going to apply to Cambridge. And I was not too serious about it because it's like, I don't know, I did not take applications too seriously, which is something I would not recommend people. Just take it a little bit seriously. It's not as easy as it looks, but it's not as hard as well.
Mm-hmm.
So in 12th grade October, which is basically around last year, is which is when I had to submit my application. So I seriously started working on it in September or August, late August and September, early September. So UK application is actually not too hard compared to other applications that I had to do. There's just a letter of recommendation that you have to ask your teachers for, a statement of purpose, and a few other forms that not forms details you have to fill, like your financial status, which is you have to fill after you submit your application. You have to fill personal details, where you were born, and employment history. But the main part of your application should definitely be your statement of purpose, because that is the only form of text you're submitting to the university.
Right.
And so you get to apply to a maximum of 5 universities. I applied to University of Cambridge, Imperial, and Warwick.
Mm-hmm.
I only applied to three, but you can apply to five.
I
There's
see.
a small clause that you can apply to Oxford or Cambridge. You cannot apply to both the universities.
I see.
So that is a decision that I kind of had trouble making. But
Mhm.
I'm glad I chose Cambridge.
Right.
Uh, so the application is submitted through UCAS. That's the portal for all the applications you're going to submit.
Okay.
And it's pretty self-explanatory, the application process, because there's not too much to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think LOR is something people try to make a little bit more complicated than it should be. I personally think that asking a school teacher or a counselor, if you have in your school, that is perfectly fine. Sometimes people try to get a professor or an academic, a really highly reputed academic person to write the LR. It's not really needed. I would rather have someone who knows me better write an LR than someone who's like supposedly more academically oriented and doesn't know me much, because they
Right.
can't find me as well. So I would recommend taking permission from a professor or a teacher that knows you better and just knows how you've worked in your entire journey, from where you started and where you got. I think that's a lot more, I think, impactful than someone who's met you twice in the last 4 years. And next is SOP. I think that is also not a very hard thing to write. It doesn't take too much time, but I think it's quite important. So I would recommend spending at least 10 to 12 hours on it and like getting it reviewed by a lot of people. Because sometimes when you've written it, especially, a lot of things are in your mind that you've not actually written down on the
Right.
actual text doc. So it's very much needed to get it reviewed from a lot of people, and you'll end up with a bunch of opinions that you certainly do not need to take account for. But if it's some opinion, some correction, basically like a grammatical error, then of course change it. But if someone's asking you to not include a particular part of your life that you think is very important, maybe just ignore that. And I did not write too much about my extracurriculars that were not related to math. I think that is also because UK universities tend to not like focus too much on the extracurriculars you've done that are not in line with the major you're applying to. And since that is the only form of text that's submitted to all of the 5 universities you're applying to, I would recommend just going through it and just making sure you're not mentioning a university's name. Like
I see. So
I
it's a general SOP, like not a university specific one. I see.
exactly. So even though I was applying to 3 universities, my main university in mind was Cambridge. So a bunch of times I had actually mentioned a few things from Cambridge, like I really want to go to Trinity College, but I have to remove that because it's
Mhm.
going to a bunch of universities. You don't want that.
Right.
I think that's why getting it reviewed is very important. So if you've missed some tiny clause, then they can probably figure it out.
Right.
And I would recommend writing, if you don't want your SOP to look very achievement heavy, then I would recommend writing a lot about the courses you've taken, the books you've read, or the knowledge you've gained along the years, instead of trying to make it a lot more like I did a volunteering thing at a hospital over the summer. That might not be too relevant to a lot of colleges,
Right.
unless that is related to your major. My major was math, so the extracurriculars I did mention were the teaching jobs I held over the past few years.
Mhm.
And I think try to get good grades in school, which is, I think, because that you'll obviously have to submit that to the universities, and also it just looks better for your application. I'm not sure if like getting a lower score in a subject you're not applying to is probably not like a very bad thing, but it's also not a good thing. So try to keep your scores high, get good grades, and just try to keep at least the school grades, but very, very well rounded, instead of getting 100 in math and 85 in other subjects.
Right.
Um, what else is there?
So, so you applied, did you also apply separately for scholarships or did it happen with that?
Um, I am not too aware of a lot of scholarships. I think there is a Cambridge Trust scholarship and an Oxbridge Society scholarship. Those
Mm-hmm.
were the only two I was aware of, which were eligible, which everyone was eligible for. There was
Mm-hmm.
also another scholarship I applied to, which was only for international medalists. But so it was rather complex for me to get that, because initially I got rejected. But then college reached out to me and they gave me a full scholarship, which is partially funded by that organization.
Okay, so did you have to like separately go to the scholarship portals and apply, or it was just all part of the application and they will figure it out?
So the Cambridge Trust scholarship, that is directly from the college. You don't need to apply specially for it. The
Mm-hmm.
Oxford Society scholarship, that is a special application. And the scholarship for international medalists, that's called the Big Scholarships by Global Talent Lab, that I had to reach out to the founders, and they basically took an interview, and
I
that
see.
was how it went. But it's still like rather simple. It wasn't too time consuming or too overwhelming for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely recommend applying to the UK, even if you're not considering it as of right now.
Fantastic. This is very helpful, I think, and we will definitely go to Q&A and ask students more about it. A couple of things I want to backtrack a bit more. So, uh, how did you? So, these are some of the questions that students actually have asked us. Often they ask us. So, I'm just passing that on. So, one question that student asks that, how do you know that you want to pursue mathematics in the long run? Like, did you remember at in which class you kind of realized that this is the direction that seems a happy place for me, or this is where I am motivated to go? Shortly, if you can say that, when was this realization uh, you know there for you?
I think in the 10th grade, I just had a not so good Olympiad cycle. So I had taken a break from Olympiads for a while.
Okay.
So it was after the break when I like kind of got tired of the break. I realized that math Olympiads are really something that make me. And I basically could not like just give that up. Like that was my dream at some point. I could not give that up. And the thing that kept me going was not the achievements or like the crave for achievements. It was actually the love for the subject, because even after that I had my moments where I was like, maybe it's not something I'm destined to do, or maybe it's just a wrong path for me. But I always realized I kept coming back, or at least had the tendency to come back. So
Right.
I don't think you'll ever be so sure that it's something you want to do. I
Right.
still have my moments where I question it, but I think it's something I enjoy, and I wouldn't mind continuing for the rest of my life. So
Fantastic.
maybe
Is there like a special? So most of the kids here knows that mathematical Olympiads have four areas, so to say: number theory, geometry, algebra, and combinatorics. So is there one area that you specifically like more than others, or is it like all the same for you?
so when I was starting my journey, I was more inclined towards geometry and number theory because they felt a lot more connected to the stuff I'd done in school. But as I did a little bit more of algebra practice and combinatoric practice, I actually ended up liking them a lot more than what
Wow.
I think of number theory and geometry now. So I would say my favorites are algebra and combinatorics right now, but at some point they were geometry and number theory.
Yeah, so things can of course change. Um, can you so there are many kids who are like little kids here. I'm sure they are here. So can you refer one interesting math book? I mean, we all know about the book list. Like, there are a list of books that people follow for Olympiad training, and we have talked about those books in the previous last time when we talked to you. You also spoke about these books, but can you just single out one interesting title for, let's say, sixth, seventh, eighth graders, which is uh, interesting and which you think can really motivate the kids?
I think Mathematical Circles is a really good book. It's, I
Mhm.
think, fun to begin with, and it's not.
Mathematical Circles Russian Experience by
Yeah,
Fomen, right? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just
So,
a fun
yeah,
book.
it's a very
Yeah,
nice book. Yeah, indeed.
it's-
Uh, one last question before we go into the other stuff, the Q&A part. So, Gunjan, you also mentioned that you have talked about your teaching experiences in your SOP. First of all, did you like teaching? I'm assuming kids learned from you Olympiad stuff. So, did you like teaching that? And do you think that's important for the growth of a kid in school?
I definitely had the most amazing time teaching, not just because I got to test my skills, but also because I knew I was like give giving back to the community that helped me a lot. So it was like a win-win. And of course, even though it was fun, it can be really hard. So don't rush yourself into being like, I'm in 10th grade. I should start teaching now. Sometimes it's better to try to get better at your skills and then teach. I think rushing too much can be a little bit demotivating. And I don't think you need to teach to get better at something, but it's one of the best ways to actually gain confidence, and of course I get better at explaining, especially. I feel like my proofwriting skills definitely improved after I started teaching, because sometimes I had the habit of just writing stuff in like steps, which was like I would write equations after equations, and sometimes they did not make sense if there were like no words or something like consider x equals this or something. So that was definitely something I like
Fantastic.
proved.
This is amazing, Gunjan. Again, I think there are many takeaways from your own journey, and I think the most important takeaway is perhaps you had a bad year, you took a break, and then you came back because you really found the inner calling. Um, and that's, I think, the point. Human beings are not machines, and they don't need to be machines. They don't so they just have to listen to what their heart is saying in a sense, and really work hard, of course.
Yeah.
Working hard is obviously there. Okay, so I will just like move over to the Q&A session. So we have like 10-15 minutes of Q&A, I guess. And then if you have more questions, you can send us by WhatsApp or go to chinta.com and send those messages, and I'll definitely pass them on to Gunjan. But if you have a question, please raise your hand. There is a hand raise tool in Google Meet, and then we can take your question, and I'm sure Gunjan will be happy to respond. So anyone has any question, please raise your hand. I see there is Ritikesh is raising hand. Yes, Ritikesh, you can unmute yourself and speak up.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
How hard would you say it is to get into Cambridge, like with any major? Like, how hard is it to get into like like a mathematics major
Uh-huh.
in Cambridge? Yeah, like how hard is it?
It's definitely relative. It depends a lot on which college you're applying to as well. Like I would say Trinity is known to be a little bit more selective than other colleges. But I would say that it's not the hardest thing you would do. It's definitely a process. So like it's not something you can just achieve in a month or two. It definitely takes a lot of time, maybe years of preparation that I don't think people see on the surface, because the interview it's rather hard, and that would require years and years of preparation. So I wouldn't say it's very easy, but it's definitely doable if you have the interest.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question, Ritikesh. Let me move on to Pranav. Pranav, go ahead and unmute yourself. You can speak up.
Hi, Gunjan. Did you happen to apply to any US universities?
I did apply to 5 universities.
Okay, which ones, if you don't mind?
I applied to Stanford, MIT, Harvard, Cornell, and Princeton.
Okay, so do you have any tips for the Cornell supplemental essays in
Oh,
specific, or you could give me a contact information so I can maybe reach out to you about that later or something like that, if that's fine with you.
yeah, sure. I could do that.
Okay, so that's great. I will pass that on. Yeah, let's go to Vinita. Thank you, Pranav, for the question. Yeah, Vinita Akshita. I think this is, sorry, Akshita. Yeah, Akshita Kashyap.
Hi, Gunjan Didi. It's
Hello.
Akshita here. So I wanted to ask that you are a schooling student and managing school with the interest in mathematics along with some other subjects. Like, how did you did that?
Uh, you just have to work really, really, really hard. It can be like overwhelming at times, but like taking a break is completely fine. I think that's what kept me going as well. Like I would take tiny breaks, maybe a day or two, and then I would come back. But the feel like just remember you have to come back. Taking a break is completely fine. Maybe even a week or a month, but just go back to the subject and work really hard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Akshita, for that question. I'll go to Nikhil CS for the next question. We can't hear him or her. So I'll just wait for uh, them to fix the microphone, I guess. I'll go to Priyanka Bhargava. Oh, okay, I can hear you now.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you applied to college, were there anything other than your grades and extracurriculars that like affected whether you got a scholarship or not?
Right. So I think there is a connection issue at Gunjan's end. Can you guys still hear me? Hello. Am I
Yeah, I can
audible?
hear you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's Gunjan whose connection is, I don't know, it's not working, I guess. One of the things I will probably share with you while she comes back, hopefully, is she was talking about teaching. So she has definitely taught in many places, I'm sure, but she was teaching functional equations, geometric functional equations in our with us actually at some point, and there is some recordings of that. If you guys want, you can have some fun with that as well. So it's a very beautiful subject. Functional equations themselves are quite challenging actually. So let me just go ahead and share the link with you. Geometric, and also let me tell Gunjan that this is she's out of the call, I guess.
I
Oh,
just
you,
and
you,
then
got, you got back?
yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. I can't see you though. Okay.
I think it's lagging a little bit, but
Oh, okay, that's fine. So go ahead, Gunjan. I think Nikhil was asking that. Okay, Nikhil, you can actually repeat the question. I think he was asking anything other
Um,
than grades is important or not. Yeah, go ahead.
so when you applied to college and for a scholarship, was there anything other than like your grades and like maths that would like affect whether you got a scholarship or whether you didn't get a scholarship?
um, so the only scholarship that I actually applied to was the international medalist one, which I did not get. I got one scholarship that I did not apply to. So I'm really not sure how to answer this question, but I I don't think like they care too much about the extracurricular part of your application. So as long as your grades are really good, you're doing well in the subject you're applying to, it should be fine.
And obviously, this is in the context of UK. So
Yeah.
you have to understand that. Yeah. So also, I shared the link. It was 2 years ago. Gunjan was little at that time anyway. So she was teaching geometric functional equations. You guys can look at this later. I'll take two more questions, three more questions, and then okay, let's see. So I think Priyanka Bhargava is here. So Priyanka Bhargava, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, sir. I'm Uddhav Sharma,
Hi,
and
Uddhav.
I want to ask that how many hours did you study when you were preparing for Olympiads?
Oh, I've been asked this question a lot. I'm still not sure how to answer this, but it wasn't too fixed. I did not keep too many targets on myself or restricted myself to like 8 hours or 6 hours of study a day. I don't think that's very good for your mental health or even like sustainable, because like you need a break at points. So I would say just try to keep like a target for like a longer period, maybe like a month or 2 months, and try to finish stuff over that period instead of like daily targets. So instead of being like, I need to study 3 hours a day, maybe keep like, I need to finish this handout or this chapter of a particular book within this week or within 2 weeks. I think that is much more sustainable.
That's a very excellent answer, I would say. Let's go to Arnav Garg.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Uddhav, for the question. Arnav Garg, you have a question? Quickly, let's finish it off. Yeah.
So, what is your plan after Cambridge?
I don't know too much yet. I hope to get my master's degree as well. And I'm not sure if I'll directly jump for a post, what am I saying? A PhD or not. I'm not too sure right now, but hopefully a PhD. But I think it's like too much into the future to predict.
Okay, so in like maths only, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Probably.
thank you.
Okay, two last questions or three. I mean, okay. Kalyani Yaduvangshi, please ask your question. Yeah. Let's finish 2, 3 more questions and then we can do.
Hi, Gunjan. Congratulations on the great achievement. I had a question about, my daughter is currently enrolled in Cheenta and preparing for the AMC 8 competition. And I'd like to know, so 6 months are, almost 5 months are left before she can finally take on the exam. And she's right here with me. Is there anything that you would like to suggest to her as far as revision tactics or strategies, and how would you invest yourself in revising the material and making sure you have practiced enough problems? What is your take on that?
I would say AMC 8 is, I don't think, a very theory heavy exam. It's a lot more speed relevant and practice relevant. So practice lots and lots and lots of problems, like at least 50 problems a day. Like try to practice a lot. And for revision, I would just say go through, maybe like if you've done a course prior to taking the exam, maybe go through that course again. And instead of like going through the lectures, try to go through the problem sets or the problems you've done or the mocks you've taken. The most important thing you can do before any exam, not just AMC, is look at the solution for the problems you did not solve or you solved wrong, and see why you solved it wrong or why you couldn't get it. And this is a perfect time because there are 5 to 6 months, which are just enough to fix that mistake, and not too long that you'll actually forget what you're doing right now. So try to look at why you're not able to solve certain problems. What theory are you lacking, or what mistakes you're making? Are you making calculation errors? So maybe try to have a little bit more patience during the exam, or are you just not having enough time to solve all the problems? And just keep practicing lots and lots of problems.
Okay, is there a particular book you suggest besides whatever great stuff we do at Cheenta?
I think just going through like all the previous AMC problems is good enough. And if you're done with AMC 8 problems, feel free to jump to AMC 10 problems. They cannot be significantly harder than AMC 8 problems.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dave. Yeah, thanks again.
Thank you. 2 last questions. Surajdeep Datto, sorry. Surjadip Datto, you have a question?
Yes, sir. My name is Surjadip, as you know. So, hello.
Yeah, hello.
So, just I want to ask Gunjanji that now I am in standard 6. So, like for the examinations, like I performed many Olympiad exams, not that WMC, Olympiads, NELTAs, etc. And for that, still, I want to ask, like in your age also you have performed. So, have you preferred only Olympiad exams, or in schools also you ranked good?
I did not do well in school at all. Like I wasn't the worst student, but I was certainly not the best. So I did kind of let other subjects take a toll for my math preparation. I don't know if I should be recommending that, because my grades did suffer quite a bit. But if like you're able to manage to get a decent score, then go for it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. One last question, Manasi Mehta, and Shreyas, you can also ask a question. So two last questions. Ritikesh, you can send your follow-up to me by WhatsApp. Yeah. Go ahead, Manasi G. Mehta. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think she's here. Okay, Shreyas Gupta, you have a question. Go ahead.
Sir, I had my question posted in the chat.
Oh.
Can you-
Okay, so Shreyas had a question. I got to know my interest about math in most unfortunate time, 10th class, boards coming, didn't taste any on-routine math before, didn't clear cut off twice in IOQM. I'm doing algebra question right now, and it is dominating me. I would like to listen some failure hardship times from Ashwini sir and Gunjan ma'am's journey to relieve my heart. I think this Gunjan already answered this, that she, and I'm sure that she has a more elaborate, maybe Gunjan, this is a very good point. If you can later write about the hard times, I mean, obviously kids know about the good times, and that creates a feeling that, maybe everything was always rosy. And I kept on talking to your mother for like last 6, 7, 8 years. So I'm absolutely, certain that it was not rosy all the time. I know that for sure. But I don't want to speak about all that right now because it's personal. So maybe Gunjan, this is a good idea. Later, when you settle down and all, can you write something for the kids? Divulge whatever you want to divulge, and kids like Shreyas will feel motivated. Yes, things can go really hard, and I can assure you, Gunjan and her sister Anushka had really hard times. I know that, and I smile because I'm a bit nervous about this. I remembered the conversations, but yeah, really hard times. I'll not ask Gunjan to respond to this because I've already requested her to write something about it at a later
Sorry,
point. Manasi Mehta, please go ahead.
I was unable to unmute earlier. Hi, Gunjan. Gunjan, in the SOP for UK applications in particular, how much of prospective research work element needs to be covered? Is it like 1/4 of the SOP should be about your future research? Some
So I'm not too sure what you meant, but what I did take from the question was like if you should talk about the research projects you've done or not. I personally didn't do too much research in my high school time, and
okay.
I think she was asking that, maybe I got it wrong, but I think she wants to know that if you had any future research plan that you mentioned in the SOP.
Yes, thank you, Ashwini.
Yeah. Did
Uh,
you have anything mentioned like that?
I did write a line or two about that I did want to pursue a research sort of a career in mathematics. I didn't write too much about what particularly because I think university is the time to explore that instead of high school. So maybe do express that you do want to like pursue a research sort of a thing later, but you don't need to write too much about it or what particularly. Definitely write that you're interested for that though.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining in. And thank you, Gunjan, for your time. And we hope to keep on talking to you and have great time together as you continue your journey in mathematics, research, and all your adventures. Congratulations again. I'll, stop here today. Thank you. Bye, everyone.